We're going to talk about choosing the right RV for you today. And we are in the RV to Freedom group to do this. And this is the day everybody decided. So we hope you all can join us. Again, this is Brandon. And I'm Carenza. And we're the host of the RV to Freedom group. And we also have our blog at DriveDiveDevour.com. That's our personal travel blog.
So, what's the best RV? It's a 2006 Fleetwood Bounder, and thank you. I'm just kidding. There is no best RV, and everybody's different. And so what you need to think about is, what do you want to do this for? Why do you want to live in an RV? Why do you want to travel? What are you going to do in it? Where do you want to go? You know, how long are you going to stay? And think about, what your needs are, because you're the important one here. The RV is just a vehicle that's going to get you there.
And you matter the most. You are the most important person in this equation. You're going to hear lots of opinions, and everybody likes.
Well, she's the most important person.
Right.
And,
well, you got to keep happy wife, happy life, right? Yeah. You've got to remember what you want. You're going to hear a lot of opinions, and everybody likes what they have. So most of the time, people like what they have. So if they're a Class A person, they always want to go with Class A's. Or if they have a fifth wheel, they often recommend fifth wheels. And you know what you know. If you have never had an Airstream, you might not be able to talk about it and say, oh, yes, you should definitely get one.
Right.
So you always have to take opinions with a grain of salt, and that includes ours. I'm
right.
not saying we're going to be able to tell you everything that's great.
What are you going to do with this RV? One thing to remember about it is a vehicle and a house. If you treat it like a house, it doesn't make a very good vehicle. So if you think you need to carry everything you have in your 2,500 square foot house in your RV, that's fine. You can do that. People do it. But it does limit a little bit. So that's where you have to start thinking about, what are you really in this for?
Right.
Are you planning to just go to a campground and hang for a while? There's a lot of people that just go south for the winter and just hide from the winter down south. That's great, and a nice big RV is great for that. Do you want to go, up into a small remote spot in the forest and camp? That's different. The bigger you get, the more restrictive that's going to be. What's your budget? Diesels are awesome, but can you afford to repair a diesel if it breaks? We had a nice, lengthy discussion in the group about diesel versus gas. And these are all things you have to consider, because what's perfect for one person isn't necessarily perfect for someone else.
Right. I mean, that's the big thing, figuring out why you want it, what you plan to do with it. And like you said, if you're snowbirds and staying in one spot, you might want something larger. You're not going to be moving it all the time. You don't need to have quick access to things. But boondocking, trying to get in and out of places, and and then if you've been going on a cross country, I shared that one.
That's what you get, Kevin.
A cross country trip where you're really just moving very quickly, and it's not even, maybe not full time. You're only using it for a few months. That might be something different that you're really looking for. I just really need to fit all the family, and you want to be able to drive it very easily, very quickly everywhere you go.
Right.
Tailgating is a whole other thing. I don't know if we have any tailgaters in the group, or if there's really more people who want it full time, but that's something to also think about. Carrying toys. We had some other stuff that we were just...
Even things like, are you a solo or are you in a couple? Because as a solo traveler, a smaller vehicle is going to be easier to back in. You're not going to need as much space because you don't have to dance around with someone else inside the RV too much. There's things like street camping. If you're really trying to cut costs and you want to do some camping at a parking meter in a busy street, or if you want to hang downtown because maybe you don't want to have to drive it home after going to the bar, again, something smaller is going to be easier to park. So those are all things you need to think about while you're shopping and while you're thinking about this. And when you ask people's opinions online, try to understand where they're coming from, because a lot of people are going to tell you, 45-foot tag axle, and but if you look into what they're doing with it, it might not be the right thing for you. The reason why we keep harping on this is because that's what we did.
Right. And we went from we started out as hikers and tent campers, and then we moved into a pop-up camper as camping. We did that for weekends, and that's what we had when we decided we wanted a full-time. So we went straight from a pop-up to a 40-foot diesel pusher motorhome. And it was based on a lot of opinions that we saw online and that we read. And when we asked questions, we were in forums, and that was the thing.
Yeah,
if you're going to full-time, you have to have this.
Yeah, get the biggest thing you can afford and get the last RV first. And that one was one that really bugs me now.
He said it was loud, so.
Oh, sorry. The last RV first one. Because when we started this 3.5 years ago, we're so different now than we were then. We could not have possibly known what we would be interested in or what we could live in or how we would change. So to blow our budget on the biggest thing we could find really wasn't the right move for us. We found that it was just we were in parks that we were normal campgrounds that we were paying a little more than we wanted to pay for, and all of our friends were hanging out up in the woods or up in some cool little boondocking spot, and there was no way we could ever get to them. So that really kind of made us think about do we really need this giant thing? And so that's why we chose to size down. Now, if we had done that in the first place, we would have a lot more money now than we do. And so I think if you really don't know what this is about, try to figure it out as much as you can. Get into something cheap. Don't blow your budget, and get out there, because you're going to change. This isn't anything like...
Yeah, if you're full-timing, you will change over the years. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
I mean, what you start out as might not be what you end up. And you might, like, we didn't know when we started out that we were going to be boondockers, and we do it all the time now.
Yeah, I thought boondocking was some crazy thing that, like, you needed some special vehicle that could go off-road, and we boondock in a Class A motorhome. I mean, if you've got a way to make power and you've got tanks for water, then it's easy.
Point out Kelly, it's like, exactly. See, she knows what I'm talking about. And she keeps ditching everything. So we keep seeing her getting rid of everything in her RV. And you don't know. And you really need to try to really think about it and just not listen to everyone else's opinions, because you can start to actually, if you really think about it, you're going to be able to figure out a little bit better where you want to go, what you want to lead to, and read stuff, just kind of get in there and start thinking about, am I really want to go to national parks and state parks? Because those have, you often don't have hookups. There's a lot of smaller sites in them, and you think about that stuff.
And they're usually more natural. You're going to have a little bit more space between the sites, more shade, and they're usually cheaper. And if you're trying to control the budget, having a vehicle that can get into smaller places helps you pay less. And for us, that's a big deal.
We've harped on larger rigs, and we have nothing against them. If they work for you, great, and we loved ours. It was large. It could fit. We had
17 people in it at one time, comfortably.
Right. Yeah, it was great when we were with all our friends and hanging out. It didn't fit our lifestyle.
Right.
And so that's something that you just take opinions, listen to everyone, think about where they're coming from, and to know why they might say, oh, yes, we definitely think 45 foot is, it's perfect. It's fine. Because it might be perfect for them, but it might not be perfect for you. So just, you have to realize that and start thinking about what you want to do in it, where you want to go, and what your plans are. Do you want to travel fast? Do you want to move quickly? You want to
Or do you want to be off the main highways?
Right.
Because, motorhomes are real comfortable on the highway. You start getting into the smaller roads, and, they're just the roads start to feel a little tighter and the trees start to feel a little closer. So that's something to think about. How do you want to travel? So instead of, I think everybody comes to this and they've had these visions of these motorhomes just going down the open highway, and that's kind of how they start. Instead of being obsessed with the vehicle, think more about where you're going to go with it and what are you going to do, because that's really going to help you inform your decisions.
See, and Julie says they have a fifth wheel, and it's 45 foot because it's a toy hauler and they need the garage. And that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
See, it works for them. They need that garage. They're
And I
carrying
wish I had that
things.
garage.
Yeah, you wish you had the toys in it too. But
Yeah, I know.
like,
I need a 30-foot toy hauler
right.
that's only 10 feet tall so I can get in the under
And
the
30
trees.
feet, but we still want our living space,
Right,
not all toys. So if it works for you, perfect, because that's just something that you have to think about. Kevin asked about companies that you can rent different RVs to see what you might like, and Timothy and Deb just asked about a campground in Rapid City. We don't really know a campground in Rapid City that would rent them, but there are definitely places that rent them. I mean, there's like, what's the big one?
Cruise America
Oh
is
yeah,
the big
Cruise
one.
America,
And then there's Road Bear,
right?
and then El Monte.
Yeah, El Monte. Something.
RV.
El Monte.
We
Look
see
at
those
that.
around. There's also the
Yeah, there's peer-to-peer now. So you can go to like RV Share and Outdoorsy, and I know there's another one.
yeah. So those you're
They're
actually
popping up all over now.
so RV Share and Outdoorsy. You're actually renting other people's RV. So like if we weren't going to use our RV for a month, we could put it up for rent, and then you could rent it. So it could be a cool way to try out a variety of RVs. Like Cruise America tends to have kind of basic models, and they're all very similar. But Outdoorsy or RV Share, you might actually be able to find a model to rent that's real close to what you're looking for.
Okay, weird. Behind on these questions. So let's get to Kimberly's questions, because it really goes into what some of the things you should look for and think about when buying an RV, when
Right.
choosing your RV. So she went in about a checklist, good checklist, look for an RV if they plan to spend time at state parks and boondocking. So we did mention how length can be limiting at a lot of state parks, especially talking about older state parks. I'm talking about national parks, but on the coast too, it seems like. They were built before RVs got really big.
Yeah, there used to
So-
be a legal limit that a private vehicle couldn't be longer than 35 feet. So a lot of the older parks just don't have spaces that are longer than 35 feet. And if they do, they might have a limited number of spaces
Right.
that they've added after the fact.
Because there's definitely some state parks you can get into. Not to say that you can't with anything bigger than that. There are definitely state parks and that accommodate that. But sometimes, yes, it can be just fewer spaces, fewer options. So that's something to think about if you want to go to state parks. And even boondocking, again, we know people who do it in 40-foot RVs, and it's fine. But works really well if you're going out in the desert, because it's really open and you don't have to
Right.
worry about getting into things, getting into like tight spaces.
And then the other thing, basically what you're looking at, boondocking or state parks, is you need power, you need water, and you need somewhere for your waste to go. And on the ground is not an option. So, power, you want to have a decent sized battery bank to support you, and then you need some way of recharging that battery bank. The cool, fun way that all the cool kids are doing is solar. And that's what we got, and that's what we're on. That we're actually powering this live thing right now off of our batteries that were charged by solar today. But solar is just a fancy battery charger. That's all it is. So your batteries are your core. So you want to look for an RV that's got space for batteries. This RV, when we bought it, only had 2 batteries, but it had space for 2 more. And so 4 batteries on a residential fridge for 2 working adults is perfect. I'm sorry, not a residential, on a gas electric fridge for 2 working adults is perfect. If you have residential, maybe 6 batteries. If you're a travel trailer single and you're not running a lot of stuff,
I'm just going to try
Sorry.
to sit up above the
then,
cliff. I'm
then,
short.
then 2 batteries is fine. But at any rate, you want power. Then you need a way to charge it. So you've got solar or a generator. And a generator's fine unless you're parking real close to my friend Marshall. And close is like within a mile radius of him. He's going to hear your generator and it's going to annoy him. So if you're going to do a generator, shoot for a quiet generator, because some of the state parks, like the one we were at in the Redwoods, we've got our motorhome in there, but everyone else around us was in a tent. So if we were running our generator, we would have been the big obnoxious people. And
yeah, I'm sure.
then the next thing is water. The bigger the tanks, the better. And then your waste tanks is the same deal. Bigger is better. Now, on the flip side of that, water weighs 8.3 pounds per gallon. And all the water you put into your RV affects the carrying capacity of the RV. So you really need to make sure that you're paying attention to the cargo carrying capacity.
And this is for everyone, boondocking or not.
Yeah.
Cargo carrying capacity is a huge deal when you're full-time, especially.
Yeah, and lately, there was a weird period in the mid-2000s, and it seems like also lately, they're building RVs with tons of features, and they're great. They've got tile floors and Corian countertops and J couches and all this stuff, but you don't get that for free. They have to cut somewhere. Now, in the big diesels, they usually are going to give you a chassis that can support it, but in the gas motorhomes, there's only so much a gas motorhome can do. And at some point, they just have to cut out capacity for you. And for a weekender or a casual user or someone who's just going to roll south and sit and live in it, maybe that's okay. But for, and Dan says, if you have a bus conversion, you can carry everything forever because it's got tons of capacity. But for motorhomes.
And fivers and
fifth
wheels, travel trailers.
Yeah, everything. You have to look at this because it'll get you. Our previous diesel, we had this 40-foot diesel, and it was built in that weird 2000s phase. It had all these great features, but when you looked at the sticker, it could only carry 1,300 pounds, which was stupid. It was just dumb. And because of that, we never carried water in our tanks, and it limited us boondocking. We didn't want to do solar upgrades because that was going to add weight. So it was a big deal. So,
and we saw a fifth wheel recently that had all the storage space.
Yeah, it had the largest storage space I've ever seen.
But
after you filled the water tanks, you could only carry 1,400 pounds in it. And the rule of thumb for full timers is about 800 to 1,000 pounds per person if you're in just doing a nice, comfortable full timing. Now, if you're Kelly, it's like 100 pounds, I think, is all she needs. So it's not saying that you have to follow that, but this fifth wheel had so much space that there was no way you could pack it and not be overloaded.
Right.
So how do you find out the cargo carrying capacity? If you're looking at an RV that's 2009 or newer, there's going to be a yellow sticker on the front right door of the RV, and it says right there how much stuff you can put into the RV and how much a full tank of water weighs. So you subtract out the full tank of water, what's left is how much you can put in it. And if it's a motorhome, you got to count all the people that are in it too. Because basically you're counting how much is in it while it's going down the road. When you're stopped and people are visiting, it's not as big a deal. But anyway, that's a huge deal, and it's something that people really need to pay attention to a lot more, and the manufacturers need to do a better job on it too. So just real quick on the electrical system, that kind of ties into the earlier question as well. When you're looking at RVs, another thing to look at is the electrical system. All RVs have a 12-volt system that's going to run off the batteries, and that'll run your lights and your furnace and your water pump and kind of your basic necessities. But if you want to run computers and televisions and microwaves, that's where you're going to need an inverter. So looking at RVs, see if they have an inverter. If that's something that's, a big deal to you, look for that and see what the inverter is connected to. Because this RV, when we bought it, the inverter only ran the TV and the stereo, which was kind of useless for us. It didn't run any of the other outlets in the RV. So we had to add an inverter and get it all wired up, and that was kind of an expensive ordeal. But it's something you can totally do, and it's something you can do yourself if you're somewhat handy. Let's see.
Insulation, if you are, really, just if you're living in it, and you're going to be somewhere that might not be 70 degrees all the time, either hot or cold, having good insulation does make a difference. And double pane windows.
Yeah. Even on a normal day when it's 70 degrees out, if the sun's coming in the windows, it's a bit like a car. It starts to heat up in here, and so double pane glass makes a big difference. And so if you can find it, get it. Good roof insulation is great too. If not, your air conditioners are just going to run all the time. And RVs are not well insulated unless they're a bus conversion. I don't know. I think a lot of bus conversions aren't terribly well insulated either unless someone
it
does
depends
it.
if somebody does it, right? Because the school
But-
bus is not that
Right.
well insulated. Remembering going to school in the winter, it's
Right.
it's not that great. But you can put it in, and that's the same thing with the RV. Now, all of them have heavy insulation, but there are numbers like R9, R7.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, if you look for the R numbers, if people post the R numbers on the insulation, that's a good thing because that can be measured and they can be held accountable to it. They'll say things like 4 seasons package or all weather. That's a good start. There's no industry standard for what that actually means. Usually it means the underbelly is sealed. You'll have better insulation in the floors and walls, double pane glass, but you still got to check them because there's no RVIA standard or any other kind of industry standard that would say exactly what 4 seasons rated means. So something to watch out for. So Kimberly asked, what's the Arctic package? Arctic package is the same kind of thing as a 4 seasons package. They're signaling to you that the RV is better insulated and is meant, can handle colder temperatures better. What that actually means depends on the manufacturer. Usually in the cold in an RV, you have to worry about the plumbing freezing. So usually it's going to have some sort of heated bays, or the furnace is going to duct through the bays to keep the underbelly warm. Usually the underbelly might be sealed. You could have heat pads on your holding tanks, things like that. Anything to help keep it from freezing.
And thicker insulation and stuff like that. But again, since there isn't a set standard, you need to ask because they're all going to be different.
Right.
Yeah, don't take it at face value that says Arctic package and then you have enclosed underbelly because you might not.
Right.
So
this particular RV is all seasons rated, and what they've done is they run all the plumbing is running through the bays, and then the bays get heat from the furnace. So that's kind of how it works.
To let you guys know too, we do have that checklist that if we did a whole broadcast on it about going to
Something else.
Okay, going to RV shows and just even dealerships, and having a checklist to kind of take in with you because it's really easy to just be wowed by a floor plan, which is very important when you're looking and when you're going to live in it. It needs to work for you. So
but you get a level
don't
of
downplay that. It's very important, but it can totally wow you, and then you forget to look at some of the other important things.
Right. Yeah. If you look at our checklist on our Drive Dive Devour site,
he took my mouse away.
we don't ask you what color are the cabinets and what color is the paint scheme and all of that. The things we talk about are the batteries, the cargo carrying capacity, the water tank size, the hot water heater or the water heater because it heats water.
You said it.
We put in there the things that we think you really need to pay attention to. It's basically the bones of the RV. The cabinet colors and curtains and whatnot, that can all be dealt with. Upgrading the water tanks and, the cargo carrying capacity is a much bigger deal if you were trying to do that.
Do you want the checklist just to help you when you go looking at RVs? You can grab it on our personal blog, drivedivedevour.com. There's a sign-up sheet right on the right side, and there's even a post with it, and then you can download it and print out however many you need. It just helps keep you organized because it is easy to get overwhelmed when you're looking at things.
A couple of tips that we had if you're looking at RVs is if you're going to shows and you're seeing a ton of RVs, when you're taking pictures of the RVs, take a picture of the sales sheet or the model number before you start taking pictures of the RV. That way, when you get home and you're looking at all these brown interiors, you'll see the sales sheet, and then you'll know every photo after that goes with that RV. And then you'll see another sales sheet, you'll know those pictures go to that RV. Otherwise, you just start shooting pictures randomly, you're never going to remember which interior goes to which RV.
Right. And let's say if we just recap a little bit of what it is when you're choosing the right RV for you, you want to, you is the key to that. You are the most important person that this RV needs to fit, not anybody else. So everybody's going to have an opinion, but they're all coming from their own experience, which is great because they might be able to help you if you are planning to camp the same way or travel the same way. But you have to understand where they're coming from. We're coming from going from pop-up and a Class A perspective. So that tends to be how we think. But if you're looking at a fifth wheel, you might want to ask questions of somebody with a fifth wheel too. And you just need to think about how you're using it because of the length of how big it is. Those types of things are going to matter if you're traveling fast or you want to just sit. It's easier to move around in a smaller. It's just easier to move around in a smaller thing.
And if you don't know, start cheap.
Yeah, and if that's the best advice we always have. If you really, because you will change, most people do. If you want to get out there, just start cheaply. Get into it, get out there, see what you like, and then hopefully you can either stay with your RV you have and it will fit you and you can make it work.
And then it's awesome because you're living cheap.
Right.
And you got all this free money.
Right.
So, yeah.
Or you can switch it in for something that might fit you better, but
and you won't lose 30
a lot
grand.
of money. Yeah. So that's kind of the best advice, but it's just really thinking about what you want to do. Like why you want to get out there.
Where you want to go.
Yeah.
So maybe instead of looking at everyone's RVs, start looking at where they're going and what they're doing. And then figure out how are they getting there and are they comfortable the way they're doing it.
Yeah, if you see somewhere you're following blogs, you're following us or whatever in the group, anybody, and you see a picture of somewhere they've been, you can ask if they what they have and if they like it for that type of thing. Because we've had friends switched RVs. Well, we did, and we have other friends who switched RVs because they felt like it wasn't right. The one they had wasn't right for where they were always going. Right. So, we're just trying to save you from some of the mistakes that we've made, and hopefully you can.
So, unfortunately, we can't tell you which RV is the best. No. You got to figure that out on your own. But it's all good.
Right.
You can do it in anything. There's people in our group from a pop-up trailer to 45-foot tag axles towing trailers.
And they're all happy. They're happy with what they have. Right. It works for them. So you just have to figure out where on that scale are you. Yeah,
and you don't need to keep up with the Joneses because you're not going to be near the Joneses. You're going to be there and you're going to see the guy with the tag axle and you're going to dream about his luxurious toilet, and then you're going to drive away. And he's not going to be there anymore, so you don't have to be envious of him. And he's going to look at your RV and be like, man, I wish I could park that somewhere smaller than this giant spot. And, it's fine. You'll be fine.
People are very adaptable. Humans are very adaptable. And we don't realize it or think about it, especially when we're going from a big house into an RV. We think we need something bigger because we're going from a big house. How could we go into like a 20-foot, RV? But people are really adaptable when you get into it. So that's, we adapt to the space that we have, and it works.
Now, that being said, if we were going to sit still much longer than we do, something bigger would be nicer. But we're really happy with what we have now.
Yeah.
So, and, Kelly's in her little trailer, and she's looking to go smaller, and she's really happy with what she has, too. So that's a great question. Do we have a tire pressure monitor system? Yes, we do. We have the Easy Tire. It's EEZ Tire monitor system, and I really like it. I was very hesitant to get one before because they're expensive. Especially we have 10 tires between the motorhome and the towed vehicle. So I was real hesitant. But there was this time we were coming into an RV park in San Diego. And I pulled into security and I checked in and I left my window open and I was driving in real slow and I could hear this clicking sound as I was driving and I knew it was something in the tire. So when we got stopped, I got out and we found there was like a bolt stuck in the tire. And we had actually not planned to go to an RV park. We planned to hit the highway and just go. if we had gone on the highway, we would have likely had a blowout because that tire had already lost 20 psi of pressure in that short amount of time. So, what are you doing?
I dropped my phone today, and now it's like freaking out, and it's all broken, and it's just playing things. And
the other thing I
can't
hated
stop.
was crawling around the RV, checking the tires all the time. And frankly, I would get lazy and not do it as often as I needed to. So now that I have that, I turn it on a couple minutes before we're ready to leave. As long as it doesn't beep at me, we're all good and we roll. When we left the Keys and we went up, we started heading north. It went from 80 degrees to 40 degrees in a couple of days. And we turned it on one morning when we were ready to go, and it told us every tire was low because of the temperature change. So, yeah, it's important. I'm really happy I have it. It gives a lot of peace of mind. You can also watch the tires while you're driving. You can see them as they start to heat up, and it just, I don't know, makes me feel more comfortable. And I know the tires are within range when I'm driving. There's no more guessing.
Right.
And we've had quite a few friends that they may have still had a blowout, but the tire minder signaled them early enough they're at least able to slow down.
Right. Or good on the side of the road. And it seemed like we had a lot of friends all have them around the same time, too. Like one summer, everyone had one, and we're like, who's next?
And that was about the time we got ours.
Yeah, we got ours. So it was good. Just to let you know, so if you're in the mobile, there is info at the top of the screen once you get into the group. And then from there, you can go down to videos and you can actually see them. So if you want to go back and watch this replay because you don't see any news feed, and you're on mobile, that's the easiest way to get to it. Thanks, Denise. And Kenneth said, love the group. Morning so much. So,
Thanks.
Thank you.
We try.
We appreciate it.
And good luck going full time.
Well, okay, one more round. Any questions before we end the broadcast? Okay, well, I think we're going to wish you a happy Easter then, and have a great night and have a great week this week. And we'll see you in the group. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Later.